So we're here to talk about how to design a plant-based milk 2.0 and what really matters and why. If you had joined in on the startup pitches session an hour ago or so earlier, there is quite a few exciting number of startups creating new types of plant-based milk from very innovative ingredients because as much as we have lots of alternatives, there is still a need for a better plant-based milk that we can all agree that will match in terms of taste, flavor, nutrition, and sustainability. Also, just to give you a little bit about my background, I am a food scientist. I'm also an engineer and an entrepreneur who started my first company 5 years ago. I have about 15 plus years of experience working in the food industry, doing multiple roles in R&D, operations, supply chain, large scale manufacturing, uh, continuous improvement related projects for big dairy. I have worked in functional food space, cereal grains, fats, and dairy as well. But the last few years, I decided to focus on plant-based alternatives because of my passion to create a sustainable food system. I I'm also passionate about creating solutions that are focused on solving the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. Because as I was mentioning on my pitch earlier, those Sustainable Development Goals are like a list of to-dos for entrepreneurs to tackle with whatever solutions we're creating, not just entrepreneurs, but even for large corporates. And above all, I'm also a mom and a consumer of plant-based food products, including dairy. I come from working in the corporate world, so a lot of my experience in the plant-based and dairy industry is really driven by my dissatisfaction of the type of impact that I wanted to make in the world. Anyways, that's enough about me. Let's talk about milk. Milk is such a staple food. I don't know how many of you grew up drinking a glass of milk, but I did. So if you don't mind, please feel free to share in the comments on how do you consume milk? Do you drink a glass of milk? Do you use it in different products? Do you just put it in your coffee or do you cook with it? And what do you miss about milk if you don't drink milk anymore? What do you love about love about milk that you miss in plant-based alternatives? And we all know that there is lots of different alternatives, from almonds to soy to oats recently. In North America, more than 63% of the plant-based milks that we consume comes from almonds. But at the same time, almonds are very unsustainable to grow in terms of their water footprint. And it's impacted it's a big contributor of the drought that's happening in California, because California grows a lot of almonds, and it has an indirect impact on the bee population as well. So I know a lot of even my own friends who drink almond milk think that they're doing good, they're choosing better, but the sustainability of almonds is not quite widely talked about. And that's where I think oats have a better advantage in terms of their sustainability. And the other alternative that's got a major market share is soy. And soy is very culturally acceptable in many parts of the world. But the issue with estrogen and too much consumption of soy and soy-based products is seen a problematic issue in North America and in some parts of the world as well. Also, soy is one of the top 8 allergens here in the US and in Canada. So let's talk about plant-based milk 1.0 for a second, where we know that plant-based milk is not new. It's one of the oldest dairy alternatives or plant milks that were created in a plant-based version. And this has existed for thousands of years. And it's really created as a niche product for people that had allergies in the beginning. Plant-based milk was not created to give a healthy, sustainable alternative to people. It started out as a choice of milk that people with lactose intolerance can take. And then we started experimenting it in different applications. For example, using it in coffees or baking or smoothies. And then people started to demand a little bit more. So there came fortification of calcium, for example, because a lot of the people, including myself, used to drink milk because it's a great source of protein and calcium. As a kid, that's a huge motivational factor to drink milk. So we started adding calcium as a fortified minerals to plant milk. And then we started to care about how they taste. And that's when almonds are okay, soy not the most preferred for everyone's taste palette. And then came oats. Oats seem to have this really nice, pleasant taste that really blended well with coffees as well. So when people found out how good it tastes in their lattes and cappuccinos, that really gave a lot of attention for oats. And in terms of creaminess and viscosity, that's an area where I think the earlier plant-based companies really didn't put a lot of thought into in terms of the ingredients that they were using to produce a milk that has good creaminess and good viscosity, similar to that of milk. So we were using gums like carrageenan or xanthan gum to produce the same viscosity. I personally feel like plant-based milks actually taste way more creamier compared to cow's milk. Um, and the other reason for using these stabilizers is to hold the different ingredients together. Milk is basically an emulsion. It's a mix of fat and water. So in scientific terms, we call it an oil in water emulsion. So to hold those two together, we need to have a stabilizing agent that can bring these ingredients together and keep them in suspension. So to put this into context, Plant Milk 1.0 was not necessarily created to give you a Beyond Meat of milk, for example. And a lot of the alternatives kind of followed this trend and focused on these 5 basic things. So where is Plant Milk 2.0 going? And this is the plant-based milk that not just people with allergies are considering, but people that want to choose a better sustainable alternative is choosing a plant milk version 2.0, and they're asking for better tasting milk, milk with a better nutritional profile, a plant milk that can also work well in all different applications, the one which has a cleaner label and produced sustainably. So that is going to be the future plant milk that we're going to consume. I know people have talked about milk from fermentation, milk from cell-based technologies. So those are also coming into play very soon. But I feel like plant milk is definitely here to stay. It's not going away. So as whether we're a startup or whether we're in academics or whether we are currently creating plant milk alternatives, I think we all have a responsibility to make these better and to match consumers' expectations. So just to give you a quick picture of the manufacturing process for plant milk. So this, I took this from our friends at ProVeg. They have a really nice graph. The process is very basic. It's very similar regardless of what ingredient you're using. This one in particular has grains. It could be oats, it could be rice. So there is 2 different methods of extraction. One is wet milling, one is dry milling. You could either use flours or use the grains and then blend it with water and you separate the solids, and then you formulate it with whatever material you want to add, for example, fats or fortification of vitamins and minerals or flavors. So you add whatever is going into your formula, and then you homogenize to disperse the fat globules evenly in the liquid, and then pasteurize it and package it. Looks simple, right? Most of these plant milk producers follow a similar process. So in theory, it's not very difficult. Even in practicality, it's not super complicated. But where it can get complicated is when we're trying to target specific functionalities or product characteristics. So let's take it what's in a milk for a minute. It is primarily water. 87% is water, and the rest 13% is a combination of carbohydrates, protein, fat, and vitamins and minerals. So it is a fairly simple matrix. So it is it's not a complex substance to recreate. So where we do need to focus on is sensory, taste, and flavor. And as I mentioned earlier, we conducted a poll here. Martin put up a poll on the poll page of the events. And many of you answered that were missing in many different aspects: sensory, taste, nutrition. So there is not one milk that meets all our needs. And sensory is also subjective. What one person likes, for example, the other person may not agree with. I know almonds. I personally don't like almond milk. I don't like the taste of almond milk, whereas I know friends that do like it. Or that prefer almond milk over other alternatives. So we need to keep that in mind while formulating. Taste and flavor and mouthfeel go hand in hand, and indirectly also with viscosity. Nutrition. I know I touched on calcium and protein earlier, and some of the pea-based milk companies are focusing on matching the protein content, but it's not just protein. There is minerals like calcium and potassium, and I know by fortifying we could boost these minerals, so that's really important as well, to match both the micro and macronutrients similar to that of dairy. Clean label. So to bring the viscosity, to bring that consistency in taste, to bring that suspension, and to bring a good emulsion, we do look at adding different ingredients into our plant milk formulations. But there is a notion among consumers that if you cannot spell an ingredient, that is bad for you. As a food scientist, I disagree with that. Not every ingredient that one cannot pronounce is bad for you. We do add these ingredients based on their safety and efficacy standards. So, but at the same time, we cannot not take into consideration what consumer preferences are. So all of these ingredients needs to be considered and thought out carefully before formulating it into the recipe. What I really want to touch on that's not really being talked about very widely in the industry is sustainability. Sustainability with a different set of eyes. Just because we create a plant alternative doesn't make it sustainable. The one big question that really made me pursue my entrepreneurial journey is this one. How do we feed the world sustainably by 2050? The population is going to hit 10 billion, and how can we feed 10 billion by 2050 using the same land, using the same resources, but by producing more? And what I would like to highlight here today is the problems with monocropping and unsustainable agriculture. We produce thousands of different crops in the world, or at least used to, but monocropping and industrialized agriculture has taken over, and the three major crops that are grown include wheat, soy, and corn. and they find their use in many different food products in one way or another, and are are a big contributor to issues with leaching of fertilizers and pesticides into our water systems. So not only does this have an impact on the biodiversity of the plate, but it also has an impact on how we're actually contaminating our waters through ineffective agricultural practices. I know peas are this darling ingredient at the moment in our alt protein world. So I have nothing to say bad against peas. Peas are legumes. Legumes are really good for the soil. So I love peas and pea proteins, but peas are not the only ingredient. They are not the only plant protein that exists in the world, and that's available for formulators to formulate their recipes. What do we need to also bring into this conversation of alternative proteins, whether it's alt dairy or alt meat, is agricultural biodiversity, regenerative agricultural practices, and climate resilient crops that fit this profile. So World Wildlife Fund and NOR have put out, they came together and put out this report called Top 50 Future Foods. So what they wanted to do is, instead of telling people what not to eat, they wanted to provide some advice and shed some light on these many different crops that have been grown for thousands of years, that are sustainable, that are good for the planet and also good for the consumers. And they've also categorized. So it's not just beans and legumes. There is kale, there is fruits and vegetables, there is also nuts. So this report, this top 50 list, is a really extensive, good list of different categories of crops that we can grow. And the list is selected based on the flavor as well, in addition to sustainability. For example, Bambara nuts are part of this. They are also an amazing source of protein. And then there is buckwheat, and there is teff, and there is millets. And what I chose to do with my startup is highlight one of these top 50 future foods, which is millets, finger millets in particular, because finger millets actually have 3 times more calcium compared to milk. So, which is why I decided to create a dairy alternative using finger millet as one of the key ingredients. Just to touch a little bit about millets. Millets are naturally gluten-free and low glycemic. They're also being called smart food by an international crop research organization. What does smart food mean? Smart food means it's good for consumers, good for the farmers, and good for the planet. And if you're wondering why is it good for farmers, because it can be grown naturally, organically, without the need for for inputs like pesticides or fertilizers. And it grows very quickly, in a matter of 60 days. So there is chances for better crop rotation, and that crop rotation removes intensification through other practices. So it's actually better for the soil. And farmers also get to make more money because they can save on the cost that they would have otherwise spent buying these inputs, which is why these are claimed to be better for farmers. So this is something that I'm really passionate about, bringing more focus around sustainable agriculture and how we can actually contribute to biodiversity while building this alternative protein movement. So, and I believe smart food is going to be the new superfood. And talking about millets, millets are, it's not just one crop. There is many different varieties of millets. As you can see, there is 9 different photos showing 9 different types of millets. They all look different, taste different, they bring a different nutritional profile. So it's really, it's not only good for creating a plant milk, but it's also good to include in your diet so you're not eating the same grain every day. Although technically millets are seeds, not a grain. So that's what we're doing at Rainfed Foods. But we also have a mission to help farmers through our sourcing practices. So that is the end of this presentation, but I'm also going to hop on the questions.